Choosing the right curriculum is arguably one of the hardest parts of homeschooling, or at least it feels that way for most of us. I, for one, have gone through so many different curriculums. We have tried so many different curriculums over the past 10 years. And to be fair, I just love trying new curriculum. It keeps things exciting for me as the homeschool mom slash teacher. And my kids also enjoy switching things up from time to time. Though I will say, I've gotten better at when we find the right thing, when we find the thing that really works, we stick to it. But that said, what works for one child may not work for another. So that's why I tend to sometimes find myself curriculum hopping a little bit. But what I want to share with you guys today is, after 10 years of homeschooling, I have tried not every reading curriculum out there. That would be absurd because there's a ton. But I've tried most of the major ones, the ones that you're going to hear about most frequently. And I always end up coming back to this same one. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you the curriculum that I would choose as sort of my top overall best reading phonics curriculum. Of course, this is my opinion. It's obviously very subjective, but it's my choice, it's my pick for the best. So we're gonna get into that. I'm gonna talk about it, show you guys a lesson in it, kind of go through how it all works and all of that stuff. But before we do that, I wanna quickly remind you guys, if you didn't see my video earlier this week, that my online homeschool course is live. I have been working on this for months. I have just been pouring myself into this. This course is for both moms who are new to homeschooling, but also veteran homeschool moms who are feeling a little burnt out, uninspired, like things aren't really going how they planned. It's a pretty intense 6-week course. There are 6 modules, over 30 lessons. We are going to be diving into the entire ethos of your homeschool and helping you to develop the one that you've really dreamed of and the one that can actually be successful for your family, your unique family. So all of that information is down below in the description box. And I'm also hosting a free webinar on Friday. We're going to be talking about why homeschooling is easier than you think. And I'm also going to be sort of deconstructing the 3 biggest misconceptions that I think hold people back in homeschooling, either starting or while they're doing it. So all the information for those are down below in the description box. I would love to have you. I'm blown away by the response. I am blown away by how many of you have joined me for the course. Enrollment does close on Monday the 27th for the course. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check it out before then. But without further ado, let's talk about reading curriculum. I'm at that stage where I can't be certain if I've not had enough coffee or if I've had too much coffee. It's a weird flux place. All right, so in case you didn't see it just sitting over here next to me, this is the curriculum we are speaking about. This is all about reading. So this curriculum fits under sort of a larger umbrella. There is all about reading and all about spelling. I'm not going to talk about the spelling curriculum at all, though I just really want to talk about all about reading. Now, I own multiple levels of this course. However, when we moved into this house, all the curriculum that we weren't using at the moment is in our storage unit. So I have not gone to get it yet. Otherwise, I would have more levels to show you. But I will go ahead and tell you that if you go to their website, there is tons of things that you can look at, samples, placement tests that you can give your children if you're not sure what level to place them at. We're going to talk about that in a second. Hopefully y'all will give me some grace if I misstep when I'm explaining this curriculum, but I'm going to do my best to explain it to my understanding. Now, the reason that I like this curriculum, this is what I've determined, because for some of my children, years ago, we hired a reading tutor because it wasn't clicking. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out why my kids knew the basics. Of course, my camera battery died. Anyway, so that thing that clicks over that takes your child from sounding out, the sort of CVC words, the thing that takes them from going every time they look at a word into flowing through it, right? Getting that fluency in reading. It just wasn't happening, and I didn't know maybe I was doing something wrong. Long story short, we hired a tutor, and I've talked about this before, but homeschooling moms should have no shame in hiring tutors in certain areas. Children get tutoring and help in public school as well. There is no shame in that. My point being, we hired a tutor, and this tutor used the Orton-Gillingham method for teaching children to read. This was so many moons ago. I did not know at the time, really understand the different methods for teaching children to read, but lo and behold, that has become my favorite method. So that tutor was able to, using that method, snap everything together. And this was one of the curriculums she recommended for us as well. And so I was like, okay, let me give this a try. And it worked beautifully with some of my subsequent children. So this curriculum takes what they call a multisensory approach. They're going to do these lessons using multiple senses, which helps obviously get that information to really stick with your child. Now, one of the things that I think you should be aware of, like I said, there are placement tests online so you know what level to pull your child in at, but there's a pre-reading curriculum and then levels 1 through 4. The pre-reading curriculum is basically teaching them to recognize the letters, to learn the sounds that they make, sort of touching on their comprehension, their listening comprehension, and then hopefully the curriculum says giving them a motivation to read. That is really a basic, something that, depending on the type of homeschool mom you are, I don't want to say that that's like a preschool thing, because it's not necessarily. If you're the kind of homeschool mom that truly waits for your child to have an interest in these things, then this just may be the first, the pre-reading will just be the first thing that you do with them. It's not like this is something you're supposed to do when they're 3 or 4, and then they should be ready to go on to the other levels later. Especially if you are, sort of using the teaching methods that you're waiting for your kids' interest to be piqued. It doesn't matter what age they are when you're doing each level. And I just want to add this caveat in case you're a mom watching this video because you have a struggling reader and you're frustrated and maybe even feeling a little bit embarrassed or ashamed, like you're not doing what you need to do. How come your kid isn't learning to read? I've been there. I know that feeling. And what I want to remind you is something that was told to me, but was very hard for me to really internalize until I was on the other side of it. And that may be true for you too, but I just want to speak a little truth over you right now, is that children learn to read at various ages. There are many other countries in the world that do not even introduce formal education to children until they are 7 or 8 years old. There are many other countries where that is the standard age at which children learn to read. Just know that waiting for your child to be interested in reading, waiting until they have the motivation truly to want to do it and want to learn is the key, okay? It's the key. You guys comment all the time on my older daughters and how much they love to read, and you see them with books this thick in their hands all the time. Neither one of them learned to read in kindergarten. So I just want you to know that when I was at that stage and I was struggling with how am I'm failing them, why I'm failing them. Her friends can read, how come she can't read? I beat myself up so badly. And what I wish I could go back and just grab myself by the little face and say, don't make them hate it. Don't make them hate it. Let them learn to read in their time. There's no race. There's no race, so that they can learn to love to read and not hate it. Luckily, I had enough people speaking that truth over me that I was able to do that. By US educational standards, they might have learned to read later than other kids. However, they never learned to hate reading. They learned to love reading. And now they love reading so much so that sometimes I actually have to remove the books from them. Stop reading. I never thought I would tell my kid to stop reading. And also, just one other piece of advice, let them read stuff they're interested in. When they do start reading, let them read stuff that they're interested in. Obviously, you want it to fit within your family's value structure and moral code, but use a lot of grace there. Discernment, but grace there, and let them read stuff that they're interested in and that excites them. You want them to love reading. It's the key to their success in the rest of their education for the rest of their life. So that's my soapbox about that. Let's get back to this curriculum. All right, so once you get past the pre-reader and you've got the phonics awareness, you've got the letter recognition and all of that, you move into levels 1 through 4. Now, I will say that I do think the levels move relatively quickly. So like level 1, it starts out with like, oh, what sound does D make? That sort of thing. I mean, you're starting out with like letter sounds, but you're going into blending and things like that very quickly. It does move fast, which is part of the reason, again, I think you need to take your time and make sure your child is motivated to do this, because there is a faster pace as you move up the levels. That will only prove to be frustrating if you have a child who, you got to the end of the pre-reader and they kind of had it, but not great. You need to make sure that they have the phonetic awareness, the letter recognition down pat before you move on. That would be my advice. All About Reading offers a few different package options and different things. Now, the first time I bought this curriculum, I think I did the full package that came with the little Ziggy the Zebra. Ziggy has been long gone. I no longer buy the package including Ziggy the Zebra. But what you really need to get started is the teacher's manual. Then you will have the activity book. This is, sort of the student activity book. You will also receive a few volumes of readers that go along with this. You're also going to get a bunch of sheets of paper that are flashcards that you must tear out. There's also dividers for the flashcards. There's a few different package options for All About Reading. If you just want to get started, my recommendation would be you need obviously the teacher's book, the student book, student activity book, the readers, the flashcards, and then it's also going to come with these letter tiles that are laminated. Again, these come in a sheet. You must tear them apart and apply the magnets to the back. You get everything you need to do that, but you have to do it yourself, just so you know. Just brace yourself. If you're someone who finds it a bit cathartic to just sit and do something mindless while you're watching a TV show, you'll enjoy the process of tearing up the flashcards and putting together your tiles. Now, they have, since I first bought this curriculum, they did not have it then, but they have it now, which is the Letter Tiles app. So I believe it only works on an iPad or tablet type device. I don't think it works on a phone. I could be wrong. We put ours on a tablet, but I think it's because it's supposed to be on a tablet. Obviously, I'm not a shill for the company. I don't even have all the details down pat, but you'll be able to see that on the website. This is neither here nor there. The point is that you'll have letter tiles. I actually like to utilize both the physical letter tiles and the app. Obviously, I want my kids to be proficient with technology. It's moving so fast, and it's going to be so much a part of probably any job they get at this point. I want them to be proficient, but I am old school at heart in terms of physical books, doing these kinds of things, pen to paper. I'm not a digital planner person, but I want my kids to have a little bit of both. So we use the Letter Tiles app, and we can use the whiteboard here where I'm moving them around, they're moving them around, yada, yada, yada. Depending on the package you purchase, it will come with a yellow box with a lid that is meant for these. I did not order that package level, honestly, because I already have these somewhere in storage. I don't know where. So I just went ahead and got the package that had just these in it and found this little acrylic container and just stuck them in there. Doesn't fit perfectly, but it works. So you don't have to have all the accoutrement to be able to use this curriculum well. There's also this book, Reading Games with Ziggy the Zebra. This is essentially an additional game or activity that you can do with your child based on the lessons. They have this little thing here where you can cut out Ziggy the Zebra and put him on a file, like a file folder, and then sit him up so that he's playing the games with you, that kind of thing. All of that stuff, this stuff is really fun, and I'm sure that kids would enjoy it. I am an eat the meat, spit out the bones kind of gal, and some things are too much for me. How much a curriculum is parent intensive, how much a curriculum requires teaching versus independent work, all of that kind of stuff. I just have a tipping point that I hit. I'm done, that's it. We've cut out, we've glued, we've played, I'm done. And so we haven't done any of the reading games with Ziggy. I always want to present to you that you can make things your own. You don't have to do everything for something to work well for you. And that, I think, is part of what holds people back sometimes, is the overwhelm from everything that's included. And you go through the list of, like, to do one lesson, you have to and you're just like, I don't have time for that. I have 5 other kids or a baby or toddlers, and it's okay to make it your own. In terms of, again, parent contribution, what's required of you as the parent, this would fall more on the intensive level because you're pretty much doing the whole lesson with them. So I do sort of combine teach. However, there's really only a couple of times during teaching one of these lessons that it's possible for me to go and help another child with a math problem or whatever. So when I'm scheduling this curriculum out into our day, I do block it off as with mom time. I don't included in something where I know that I'm going to be interrupted a lot with other kids with other questions, if that makes sense, because it is a very one-on-one. But if you have a struggling reader or a non-confident reader, that's probably very beneficial. It helps you to know exactly where they're at, and they feel supported through the process. Each lesson consists of 5 parts. The first part, before you begin, there's a little overview section of the lesson that's meant for you as the teacher to just read and make sure you know what you're going to be doing that lesson. The second part is to review. So you are going to be doing some review of things from the previous lesson. And then the third part is the new teaching. This is the hands-on portion of the lesson. That's when you'll work with the letter tiles on the board, as well as the activity sheets to teach the lessons that go over comprehension, vocabulary, and various fluency exercises. Then part 4, they include your read aloud time, where they just encourage you that you should read aloud to your child for 20 minutes every day. We don't do that at this time because we read aloud for other things in the morning and with 5 in a row. So that's basically, they're just reminding you to make sure that you're doing that. They're not saying you have to do it now. They're just reminding you to do that. And then the fifth component is to track the progress. They give your child a little progress chart that they can put stickers on so that they can track their progress and sort of see how far they've come and how long they have to go till they finish the curriculum. Those kind of things can be very motivating depending on your type of child. And again, they remind you that if you are working with a younger student, that you don't have to complete a whole lesson in one sitting. You can break it up. You can take 2 days to do lesson 1. They also include in the activity book a read aloud record. It's just a place for you to track with your child the books that you have read aloud to them. I don't do this, not because we don't read aloud, but because I just track them in my teacher planner, so I have everything all together. But if you've just got 1 or 2 kids you're homeschooling and that's an easy, quick way for you to track your read alouds, do that. After you've done the new teaching and the activity, they also have warm-up sheets in there, which look something like this. These have new words, phrases, sentences for your child to practice before they read from the book. Okay, and not every lesson requires them to read from the book. Only every few lessons, every couple lessons will they be reading from that. But you do have these to review. But you also get this little viewfinder bookmark. I don't think I appreciated enough or used enough in previous years, because basically, sometimes a kid looks at this and their little brain just scrambles. So you can use this to block out just one word, and you can use it on any book so long as the word fits in the little box here. You can use it on any book. But it's a great way for them to just kind of focus up. And if you really have a distracted child that the words on there would distract them, just flip it over and use it on the blank side here. And that really helps them just draw their eye into the word that they need to be working on. It's a great little tool to help you as well. As far as the types of activities, they are simple. Something is like, now go find 10 jelly beans and 10 pennies. And I'm like, forget that. Like, I'm not doing it. With 8 children, that stuff just gets chaotic and crazy. But I love the activities that come with All About Reading. They are fun. This one, for example, is a simple little monster. You cut the little lips out, and then you get little sheets of paper that have words on them. Your kid picks up the word, turn them all face down. They pick up a word, they read it, and then they get to feed it to the monster. And I, of course, like to sit and hold the sheet for the children and make the monster noises, So it's like, oh, we got the word right. Oh, give me the word. My kids get a big kick out of it. This is Feed the Monster for lesson 4. They do also tell you to hang on to it, and I do. I keep it to the side so that every once in a blue, we can pull out the monster and grab some different words that they've been working on in a different lesson, because pretty much all the words are coming in like a strip paper format that you cut out, and they always work to feed the monster later. So it's fun for kids. Sometimes it's fun for me too. So there's also games like this, like the little bingo, where you just grab, and you can use anything, okay? You can use anything. You can grab some old change out of your purse that's crusty with broken dum-dum lollipops on it, whatever. Just get some little item they can use for bingo. You're gonna make the letter sound, they're gonna take whatever, their little stuff, and match it and make bingo. So There's games like that. They don't take long. They're not super intensive. They're relatively quick. Then you'll also have these readers that you'll be reading from sometimes, not in every lesson, but they do start reading out of them. I think lesson 3 is the first lesson that you would be reading out of. Back in my day, when I first got this curriculum, everything was black and white. They have since updated it to beautiful color, which is fantastic. Okay, my kids still enjoyed it even when it was black and white, so that should tell you something. But yeah, so you start out with just simple bam, pat, tap, 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 tap the map, tap, tap, tap. Fun little books. You've got Run, Bug, Run, The Runt Pig, and then Cobweb the Cat. 3 books that they would be reading from. I do not, check the boxes or anything like that in the teacher's book. I just use a little clip to keep track of where I'm at in it. In the teacher's manual. This can be easily reused, and then you would just need to buy the additional activity book for each child, which is fantastic. It allows you to, you can reuse all of your phonograms cards, your word, they've got word cards in here. You can reuse all of that. No need to repurchase any of that stuff. You're really only repurchasing the student books, the consumable items. All right, so in summation, I love this curriculum. My kids like this curriculum. To find something that both of us enjoy is fantastic, and I don't take that for granted. So it's got just enough change and movement throughout the lesson that it's keeping my kids' interest. There's just enough color and graphics on the pages and in what we're doing for them to be interested in it, but not so much that it's distracting and difficult for them to focus on what we're doing. I think they do a really good job of making the teaching part easy for you. They tell you kind of exactly what to say and how to say it, and are really good at explaining, so that, for example, a lot of people make mistakes with teaching certain letter sounds by adding more sound to the letter than is actually there, which can cause roadblocks when kids are trying to learn to read and they're sort of actually making 2 sounds instead of 1 sound. So like, for example, when they're teaching the letter R, it says the letter R, common mistake is to pronounce R as R. If the sound R is difficult for your student to say in isolation, try having them make a growling noise like a dog, grr. Then say the sound without the initial G sound, not grr, but er. So I like that they break that down for you, because these are mistakes that many of us make in attempting to teach our children to read. So I like that they paint that picture for you, just making it simple, leaving little room for error on your part as the teacher. Super flexible, because there are lots of activity options and things that you can do that beef this up and make it really robust. You can trim back some of that if you don't feel like you need it or your child needs it. Or is enjoying it, you're not enjoying it. There's lots of flexibility with this, which is what I really like. It is more parent intensive as far as your participation, but I just want to reiterate that for us, I've done so many different reading programs, and I don't want to call any of them out because I don't want to say anything negative, because they may well work for other people, and I don't think that they're bad or wrong. They just didn't work for us. So this is what has consistently worked for us, and what, so long as my wandering spirit doesn't run away again, what we will be continuing to stick with in the future, because I just find it to be a tried and true, very effective method. So, all right, that is it. I have talked your ear off about reading curriculums. I am done taking up your precious time, but I hope this video was helpful to you if you are searching for a reading curriculum, or if you just came across this because you have a struggling reader and you're feeling inadequate and unsure. I hope this video could be a little bit of an encouragement to you. Don't forget to check out the course if you're interested. Like I said, enrollment closes September 27th, and also the free webinar that I am hosting on Friday. The registration information is down below as well. And I will see you guys again very soon. Bye.
Well, I don't mind to slow down anymore. I don't mind the sound of my shoes on your floor. I don't mind selling out or playing cover.